So I guess the big question right now is does it make more sense to be purchasing a car or leasing a car? And even though lease payments have gone up quite a bit, I still feel as though it does make a tiny bit more sense in the short term to be leasing a car. If whether or not you plan to keep the car for 5 or 6 years, it likely makes more sense to be leasing as opposed to purchasing. However, never ever does it make sense to lease a car if your intention is to hold on to that type of vehicle for longer than 6 years. Throw me a thumbs up if you appreciate my honest, very straightforward answer. Help me out on this algorithm. And what I'll be doing in this video is diving into that calculation I just made. What drove me to that answer? What is happening, guys? Ari here from Boston Automotive Consulting. And as always, this video is brought to you by SaveOnMyAuto.com. SaveOnMyAuto.com is a resource you can use so that you can shop around for the best possible deal. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing because this whole channel is going to teach you everything you're going to need to know so that you can negotiate your best possible deal. Now, what I'm referring to right now is in a general sense, it makes more sense still to be leasing as opposed to purchasing. However, there are a ton of different things you have to look at, which I want to simplify for you in this video. What I want to tell you from the very get-go, from the very beginning, 35%. Keep this 35% number in the back of your mind. I've got two vehicles picked out. I've got a 2020 Toyota RAV4 LE and I've got a 2020 BMW X3. I'm using these two just for the sake of providing you examples of different types of vehicles where you get kind of further away from this 35%. Now, if we've got, say, a $29,569 Toyota RAV4 and a $47,485 X3, say we're just pursuing a 7% discount before any incentives at all. This just means the dealer has to sell us one of these vehicles for 7%, with a 7% discount rather. So on the RAV4, we've got a selling price of $27,499. Now, depending on whether you're financing or you're leasing, you get more in incentives. This brings us to a better selling price, technically, of $26,000 on the RAV4 should we decide to just purchase it outright. Similarly, on the BMW, after we get a 7% discount on that $47,485, it brings us to $44,161. Now, if we're financing, we're getting an even better deal because there's a $2,500 rebate. So $41,661 is our final selling price before taxes and fees, and $26K on the RAV4. So if you're making your lease calculation, your selling prices are going to be actually higher on the lease version. Now, here's where I start to make some sense of it for you. So assuming that you're just giving nothing down on these two vehicles, what's happening right now is that we've got to look at these calculations based on 36 months. So if we're going to be doing a 36-month lease, we've got to do a 36-month finance term as well. So if we've got a 36-month lease on this RAV4, my calculations based on this month's numbers bring me to a payment, actually a very, very high payment of $349 a month, and that's assuming you're giving nothing down due at start. The similar finance payment over a course of 36 months at 2.9 was $826. Now, what I did was I took the $349 at 0 down and I took the $826 at 0 down. I divided the $349 by $826. It brought me 42%. So my lease payment is at 42% of the purchase payment. Similarly, on the BMW, with this month's programs, at 36 months, the lease payment was $626 a month, and the finance payment came out to $1,311 a month. Dividing that, I got $626 divided by $1,311. It brought me to 48%. Typically, on a RAV4, you usually have better incentives. You usually have if you had $1,500 in purchase cash, you'll also have like $1,000 in lease cash. So say, for instance, we got a smoking hot deal on the RAV4. We got a deal at, say, $299 because there was an additional incentive. Now, if we divided this $299 by that $826 a month purchase payment, we're at 36%. So 36% of the finance payment is our lease payment. You want to be as close as possible to this 35% figure on your lease payment. That way, you're only paying for the depreciation. At this time, what you could be doing is instead of making out the calculation, instead of doing guesswork, the moment that you get quoted a payment assuming the same exact selling price before any and all incentives, assuming a reasonable interest rate, one that hasn't been marked up, take your lease payment with zero down, divide it by your finance payment with zero down, and see exactly how much you're paying off of that vehicle over a course of 3 years if you're leasing it. If you're closer to 50%, more than likely the lease deal that you're getting is not really that big of a deal, and you want to focus on purchasing it or just holding off until things get a little bit better. The idea is to pay for much less than half of whatever you'd be spending if you just purchased it. However, more than just that, if your intention is to keep it for a long time, it will not make any sense to lease over purchase. Like I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, visit SaveAllMyAuto.com to shop around for the best possible deal. And if you found this information useful, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to check out SaveAllMyAuto.com as well as the resources down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.